Hi, my name is Sarah Holland, and I did my research paper on the social penetration theory. At its most basic form, the theory can be defined by Littlejohn and Foss as social penetration became the term used to identify the process of increasing disclosure and intimacy within a relationship. Basically, the more information that you receive about an individual, the more levels of intimacy that can be reached. The beginnings of this social penetration theory was established by Irwin Altman and Dalmas Taylor. Both of these individuals were esteemed professors at universities for psychology and sociology. What they did was they created multiple theories and put them into one unified theory so that researchers can have a guideline as far as relational development. Nicole Allensworth explains, from these theories, Altman and Taylor developed one unified theory which provided a stable base from which researchers could study. The framework for the social penetration theory first explains the breadth versus the depth of information and knowledge. Breadth is basically knowing a lot of different things about an individual, but they're surface level. The depth is what means you can have detailed, specific information about an individual that leads to more intimacy. It also consists of 4 main levels or layers which intimacy in relationships are established. The first is the orientation stage. This is what the public knows or can be observed, the most basic information about an individual. Second is the exploratory affective exchange stage. This is asking general questions to get to know an individual on a deeper level. The third stage is the affective exchange stage. This is where those opinions and beliefs come to light. It's where opinions and beliefs are agreed upon to find more intimacy. And lastly, the stable exchange stage is the most intimate and core knowledge about a person. It is where beliefs and behaviors can be predicted and emotions can be agreed upon and trusted. The framework also relies on the cost versus reward for an individual. If an individual can believe that the rewards outweigh the costs of an intimate relationship, then they can trust that and agree to move on to different levels of intimacy. This theory is also known as the onion theory, and this is because different layers can be peeled back to reveal more intimate knowledge about an individual. The social penetration theory is categorized as superficial, intimate, personal, and core, and on the PowerPoint given, there's a graph to see how this resembles an onion. And on the next slide, it shows the famous movie Shrek. In the movie, Shrek describes ogres are like onions, and this is because, at first, to a stranger like Donkey, Shrek doesn't give a lot of information. He's closed off, but the more you get to know Shrek, the more intimate knowledge he gives to Donkey, because they become more friends. As I did my research, I found 4 main categories in which social penetration theory is researched: marriage, mentorship, cross-cultural friendships, as well as social media interactions. The first one, and the most prominent one that social penetration theory can be seen in, is marriage. This is an example of the stable exchange stage, the most intimate that someone can be with someone. You know what they're going to behave like, and you know the emotions, and they can be trusted. Honeycutt explains, again, the manifestation of similar attitudes, opinions, and interests differentiates the couple from others. Thus, the belief that one's partner understands oneself reflects a point of integration between attraction factors and communication factors as reflected in social penetration. The partnership can be trusted in emotions and other things, and they can predict those things. The next relationship is mentorship. This is an example of the affective exchange stage. Dashner says, in order to create an effective teacher-student mentorship, interpersonal communication must penetrate through these layers so that the participants in the mentorship are able to be open and honest with one another in order to give and receive nurturing criticism. This stage requires questioning about different beliefs, different fears, different opinions about things so that advice can be specified to that individual and so that criticism can be accepted and trusted. It's a different level of intimacy. The next form of the social penetration theory is cross-cultural friendships. This is seen in the exploratory affective exchange stage. In cross-cultural friendships, because the cultures are different and because they have different backgrounds and they have different traditions, it is important to focus on the exploratory stage because that is where questions develop about background. You ask specific guided questions that give you more detailed knowledge about the culture or traditions of an individual. In order for it to dive into intimacy, Jurgensen summarizes points that are needed for this to happen. Self-evaluation. It is important to know and understand the background that you come from. And second, an aspect of cultural similarity. When you're asking these questions, it's important to gain similarity, to have those types of connections in order to dive deeper into the next level of intimacy with that individual. But also that different backgrounds are becoming less significant. This is because in this generation, there's cultures all over the world, and some are even in your backyard. And so it's easy to find these types of relationships, and they're more and more common these days. One of the most prominent relationships in social penetration theory, and one of the most researched in this generation, is the social media interactions. This one is particularly interesting and unique because it creates a problem within the social penetration theory, and it shows a little bit of weakness in it. And this comes in the form of nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is extremely important when it comes to social penetration theory. Intimacy, especially to the core, in the stable exchange stage, is being able to predict reactions, be able to predict how someone naturally and emotionally reacts to things. And that being said, when there is not any nonverbal communication, it's hard to establish that form of intimacy. Tang and Wang say, for interest topics, bloggers disclose with more depth to online audiences rather than parents, implying that bloggers might express themselves to attract like-minded friends online. It is very essential that bloggers and individuals who focus more on social media as far as communication and intimacy go, that they focus more on skipping the orientation stage and they go straight to their opinions and their emotions to gain like-mindedness in their relationships. And this forms a complication within the social penetration theory because it's skipping that step. Lastly is the biblical application. Obviously, within social penetration theory, it doesn't fulfill the perfect requirements that are biblical. Obviously, the Lord knows each level of intimacy through all the stages at one instance, instead of having to ask specific questions to wedge through that onion and to be able to gain more knowledge. He knows it the second we were created and even before so. This is seen in the story of Jesus and the Samaritan woman. Jesus approaches the woman and she does not know that he knows all the information about her, but he does, and that proves that he's God. This is just an example of social penetration in the Bible and how that is accurate but also reveals his glory. And to conclude, there are many strengths and weaknesses when it comes to social penetration theory. The strengths outweigh the weaknesses. It's researched on a broad level and it's accurate as far as that goes. It's respected and it's reliable and relatable on all different levels of relational development. And it proves to be true in all of those different things. Weaknesses is the social media relationships because it's up and coming and it continues to grow and it continues to provide intimacy on a nonverbal level, which creates complications. And that is the social penetration theory. Thank you.